ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and we have a full house today with distinguished guests. I will start with Grandmaster Elshan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. And now we have Professor um, Ken um,
Reagan?
Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much for having me on again. An exciting week.
It's our pleasure. And we have Jim Eat from Eat Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, Sasha. I noticed that you're doing this by rating.
I see. Okay, then we have founder of the network, Nick Paliveda, 3 times a Florida chess champion. Welcome to the show.
And as they say, a weak master. At least that's what I'm
Okay, that's okay.
if that's possible.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, we will start
Very intelligent.
with one of the games from the ongoing, extremely strong Swiss tournament by the qualifying to the World Championship candidate tournament, which happened to be in Toronto, by the way, in April. So, very, very exciting tournament. And maybe we'll start right away with one of the games. Elshan, would you like to show one of the games to your liking?
Okay. Let me just... there were so many interesting games happening. Actually, today, there are many interesting games happening. But in round... we looked at round 1 game between... if Dr. Reagan can help me.
Lazovic and
Caruana and Saric and Caruana. Is that right?
let's see. Okay, let me help you out here.
It was Saric Caruana, I think.
That indeed. Saric Caruana, game 1, a black win. Yes.
So I have this game I really like between Mark Andrea Maurizi, the current world under 20 champion, and Yesipenko from round 4. I really like that because I myself am an E45 player, and it was a nice win for black, especially nowadays. Winning with black in E45 is almost impossible at the grandmaster level, not to mention at the elite grandmaster level. But Yesipenko managed to play a very interesting, provocative game, and Sasha likes me to make all these old classical references in a very Spassky style, where he used to lure Keres into pushing too hard to beat him. That was he was always doing. Keres would over push against Spassky and lose the game. That was the trend. And it's an interesting game. So should I share my screen? I don't know how that works. So I give you the link. Maybe someone can. I'm gonna send the link here.
I have the Chess 24 is take. Oh, okay. I have loaded it now. Yes.
I have. If you want to do Chess 24, I could do Lee Chess. I mean, I always use Lee Chess. So.
Okay, if you could do it from Lee Chess, I have it from Chess 24. Okay, so you have the link right there. Yes. Okay. So so I have it, and let's see, Sindarov Caruana. This is round 4.
Yeah, so, that's board 1. Let me actually. What I will do is they have this feature cloning, because when I clone, I can actually flip the board. So they have interesting features there. And
I have round 1. I can show that from Lee Chess too.
Yep. So okay, I am going to. Okay, how should I share my screen?
Click present, and then you have to highlight what you want to share. It's an extra step.
So where should I? So video files, slides, share screen. Okay, I found it. Okay. It shares the whole entire. Oh, okay. I have to do window. No. Entire screen. Oh no.
Yep.
Chrome tabs there.
Sharing.
Right. Shares the. Now it must be sharing. Yeah.
Yep, and it's working. Okay, there we go.
Done.
Okay. You've got Maurizi Yesipenko. Okay, good. All right.
So we have a typical, and this is the anti-martial because I guess historically martial was to play for a win. I guess long time ago,
Yes.
Mhm.
and now it's a safe way to make a draw for black. Um, um, and in terms of chess, so the first time it changed into a mean to make a draw. It was actually a very historical tournament. It was at
It was
um,
Marshall Capablanca, wasn't it, Elshad?
it is, but historically, when it was used to make a draw, it was employed by Spassky against Fischer in Piatigorsky Cup. Is that
Mhm.
how you pronounce it? Yes.
Yes.
I forgot it was 66 or the other one. Is
Or the
second.
Olympiad. No, the Olympiad he won. Spassky won. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but Olympia, no, but this opening was not played in the Olympiad. The Olympiad was the Grunfeld.
That's right.
So this was played by Fischer. This was played by Spassky to make a draw against Fischer because he needed a draw to win the tournament. And this is the second Piatigorsky Cup, I think, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yes.
So
That's the way I pronounce it. So good
Mhm.
enough for me.
yep.
I didn't think they played this at the Grandmaster level, though, Elshad. I thought this was.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that historically it was first played there for a mean to a draw, and nowadays people avoid it because
Mhm.
the theory is so
So extensive.
extensively been developed that it's just impossible to put a dent. I mean, anywhere.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a mean to make a draw now.
Yeah, it's
So-
the history that you're talking about is fascinating because it was introduced and it was wild, and people were playing it to win, as you said, and then the theory got really sharp, and then it was like white was winning, and then it became even more extensively developed, and then black could draw, and so now it's not really played anymore because white doesn't want to play as white for a draw, so you don't see it as often.
Yeah, and the very last game that in which black won a key game in it was the match between Kramnik and
Leto.
Leko. Yes, Leko. Yes, 2004.
Mhm.
Where Kramnik, where
Grudge loss for Kramnik.
when Kramnik's when Kramnik's engine failed him, and people during the game they realized that they had wrong preparations, but the engines back in 2004 weren't so great.
Yes, that's true.
So rook
Fascinating.
b8, it was fascinating for me this move because I always thought that b4 must be the better move because you're conceding a file like this, but the move is equally good. So
Interesting.
Mhm.
so capture h3, and we have a slow. I think white's planning to play d3 and then the typical maneuver,
Right.
knight to g3, and it looks like white has a slight advantage.
Mm.
I would call it symbolic because it's not like a whole lot. I mean, even white, if white achieves everything, it still is not a whole lot. But it's interesting what Isipenko does. He goes b4. So there is a game from Nanjing Pearl Super Tournament between young Magnus Carlsen and Topalov, where Magnus played d3, knight d2, knight f1, and g3, and then played a classical plan and won the game against Topalov. And at the time, I analyzed it for ChessBase, and I criticized Topalov for staying still and not taking White's plan seriously. But here, Isipenko goes for it. Goes before, and as you can see, this has developed a lot. I'm just wondering if this game would pop up. Actually, Carlsen's game. No,
Is
it's
it-
not.
Is it part of the plan of Rook B8 to play B4? It seemed like that to me because you grant the A file, but now you're going to get the B file. So it seems consistent to me. But
It does seem consistent to me, but when I used to play Rook B8, I was playing it to not concede the B4 square, C4 square. Sorry, so I
Mhm.
don't want to concede this square for the knight.
Right. Yeah.
gotcha.
So, but it is consistent, and then D3, H6, knight D2, Rook E8, C4. I don't like this move quite a
No,
lot,
I don't
but
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
bishop A4 is coming. The bishop has one square to go, so when you go C4, you are kind of closing the center. But putting an end to this rook but also you make
Sure.
your Spanish bishop, your proud,
Yes.
the pride of your position. You just let go of it. So bishop d7, bishop a4, knight b3, bishop f8, knight b3, and this is very interesting. Knight e7. So it may appear a bit unpositional because later on you might need to play c5 to prevent d4, and you end up with a bad bishop versus a good bishop. So you are offering a trade of your supposedly better bishop, but it is actually meaningful because we're grabbing a lot of space with c5. So white must try to do something, and as you can see, the engine says d4 is an inaccuracy. So I would be worried about this if I were white. Capture, and now black has a lot of space.
Yeah.
But it appears that the engine doesn't care. But we all know that the engine doesn't care about a lot of things.
Hmm.
So I don't like this for white. So somewhere along the way, I think this is c4 in my opinion. That's what the engine is
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
just doesn't look right.
Black can land on d4 before white lands on d5.
Exactly.
Whites are
Exactly.
4 moves away from d5. Yeah.
And I don't know where he went wrong after h6. Maybe it doesn't have anything. The only thing I'm wondering if there's a d4 here, and I can ask the engine on the side here just to check it if it's a blunder or not, and then capture. And we cannot because of the d5.
It's a normal move.
And yeah.
And then
the Spanish.
there's no pawn on b2 for me to go rook knight c3.
Yeah.
So to challenge the knight. So that is it. So now I'm gonna go this. I'm very active now.
Yes.
And then black would neutralize everything white can hope for in no time.
Yeah.
So d4 is not working. So knight d2 was okay. Or maybe d4 here. Then maybe that's where he was, because eventually you have to go for that or play knight f1 or knight c4, knight e3, one of the two.
Yeah.
It's a nice.
Well, as you said before, knight c4, e3. That seems like a good plan.
Yeah, I mean c4 is to my taste is a bit overly ambitious. Probably one of the reasons in teaching chess I don't use engine evaluation is that probably this is like 0.15 and the other one is 0.30.
Who cares?
Because on a very high depth, they
Right.
both just either way, white's initiative would fizzle out. But to me, c4 is a strategic mistake.
I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put this off rather just talk about our own understanding. So he goes capture, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and c5. And now this time this rook is really irrelevant there. Knight b5 and knight g6. Immediately this pawn is under pressure. Queen d3 and queen b6. And I want to explain those who are watching. We have now some serious threats coming up with eyeballing the idea d5.
Wow. That is striking, yes.
Yeah.
For instance, he played b3. Black prepared, but I wonder if, for example, I'm just putting it, but then we can check with the engine.
Right.
b3 was important, but if I go bishop d2, I'm just wondering, and then we can check with the engine. I can go d5. Now the pawn c takes d5 is not possible because the knight's hanging. E takes d5.
Right.
Here it works, but maybe not. Rook e1. Now if I go knight e5, knight e1, I go knight e5. Take on c4, take on b5.
Yes.
And if the bishop takes, knight f4, and then I can take on d5 and then take on b5. So now let's see if the engine likes the move d5 or not. No, it's just queen's up. It just picks up the pawn. But idea like d5, no, it just equalizes, but it just pick up the pawn. So actually I have more problem with this. So if I go rook a2, for example, again, so the bigger problem is actually the pawn is hanging.
Yeah.
All right, but anyways, now this also is a thematic idea d5. So
Yeah.
not necessary here. All right, b3.
The deep one is,
The queen b6, queen c6 is what I was thinking. d5 was on my radar.
Yeah.
But it's. I see what you're saying now that you mention it, but I didn't see
knight
it.
d2, but now d5 eventually. I mean,
Wow.
first reinforced and now d5. There's a pin and there's
Now
this,
I would see that.
Yes.
yeah.
So this is kaboom.
Yeah, this is done. So if I go back here, it's very funny that pretty much one move. what they call this snowball effect. Just everything just started going against White's position.
Butterfly effect. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, he has a pawn on e4 that cannot be defended. This knight only looks nice on b5, but it really doesn't do anything because
Yep.
d6 is well protected, and there's no extra attack coming up because we just are covering it.
Right. Right.
And this is a very nice win. I mean, this. And the rest is just he goes for it. And now look at this.
Yeah.
Maximum activity.
Absolutely. It's
And
clear.
knight
Yeah.
on a7 and this rook on a4 and
Yeah.
Yeah, though that's sucking resources away from White's position to have
Exactly,
to maintain
yeah.
those pieces on the queen side.
yeah.
That's
And
a
this is
nice
one of the
bishop
things.
on b2, but
And this is one of the things in chess. Like sometimes I show a game, and in this very position, White resigns, for example, and people say, "But Coach Elshan, why does White resign?" I was like, because the quality of my piece is not only about the absolute value of the material on the board, but none of my pieces doing anything right in this moment. So,
but it's
knight
a hard
H3
thing to explain because you haven't lost any material yet, and people are saying, well, the material matters, but it's more than material. As you learn, as you get more experience in chess, this looks horrible to an experienced player.
You know,
Mhm.
it's a very, so to me, this whole before and then how quickly this
Yes.
this collapses over one c4 mistake shows the depth of Ruy Lopez when White tries to be overly ambitious here. I think maybe White didn't just realize how weak the pawn on e4 can become.
But I wonder, Elshan, is c4 ambitious?
Yes, it is ambitious because otherwise I want to go bishop f8, take and play bishop e6, trade the bishops and play d5. So that's my plan.
Mhm.
So my plan is this.
Right.
And then d5.
But I could just play bishop a4.
Yeah, I drop back to d7. I still renew that plan.
I still don't see the point of c4.
The c4, he's trying to play bishop a4 and put the knight on e3 and prepare knight. For example, this you can do this move
Yes.
and then prepare for f4.
I see.
Let me give you an example. Now you mentioned that there is a game I used to teach, and I have to open my chess space if you let me. If you want me, it has nothing to do with a tournament, but I can give you a thematic. I can give you thematic game played recently in Hungary between two super GMs that explains the c4 plan. If you want to see,
I would love to see because I'm not getting it yet. I followed what you were just saying there. You know, if you can get the knight to e3, I can see the point.
Let me show you this game. It's between Sagirov and Maksudlu. Was played last June. And give me a second. I have it in my training files.
I just, and I know I'm stuck on this, but the c4 just looked positionally wrong to me because, you know, you had the bishop on b3. It gets in the way immediately. And you're not going to put a knight on c3 because the bishop's on, the pawn's on b4. So it's not.
I don't want to steal everyone's time on this, but if you let me to
Let's take a look.
I would love to understand it better.
Yes.
Hi,
Okay.
And move it.
Matthew. It's Matthew, I think.
Hey, so if you guys want to sit, sure, I will. Okay. So this one, c4.
Okay, showing us a game.
Oh, why it's jumping? Something's off with this.
There we go. Oh,
Here we
yeah. This is a different. Yeah.
Oh, well,
But
this is
it's
early.
it's blinking. I don't know why.
Yeah, but this is a real idea in the Moscow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sicilian. Yeah.
So give me a second. It's blinking on my desktop. So give me a second. Sorry, I think I'm gonna. copy this to the same Leach's study.
Yeah, I can see it blinking on your face.
Uh,
But that's a dip. Well, I guess there's
yeah, but I'm talking the structure. So let me.
yeah,
okay,
the
now-
structure
now-
E4 C4. That's the Maroxy. There's lots of structures like that. Yeah.
But again, this explains the idea really really well. I mean, I consider it a beautiful. So now I put it here. It's better now. So C4 and his favorite move of international master Kamran Shirazi. So I kind of talk a little bit about my roots. You all know Kamran, and
We
Kamran
can't
really
see
likes
the
this
screen
move.
Oh, there we go.
I
Okay.
played him many years ago.
Yeah, he's not living in France, by the way. And
Yeah.
from time to time, when I cannot sleep at 2 a.m. and I'm playing Bullet on Leeches, I see Kamran. And I'm playing with my incognito ID against Kamran.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay.
H3, Bishop G7, and then D3. So you would say, what is White doing? Giving all these holes, right, in his center, right?
Right.
So let's
Yeah,
just
but
go
his
for it.
bishop is already out on b5, so he can exchange it.
Still,
with-
I mean, do you consider this a good bishop?
No. When considering the pawn structure, any ending, I would think that bishop would be weaker. So
Yeah. So let's just keep going forward. Castle, Queen C7, Bishop E3. Maybe entertaining the idea of playing the move D4. Maybe you just want to do this.
right.
E6, Queen D2. So E6 is a mistake. To me, the engine is okay with it. To me, this is double question mark.
Interesting. I wouldn't
Because
play
weakens the
it.
dark squares. Weakens the dark squares. B6, and then he brings all the dudes to the party, all the toys. Rook E1. So now he's ready. His attack. You see, that's the point. I stopped D5. I completely made D5 impossible.
So
And now,
E6
and now
is
I have
better.
I have an attack on the king side. So knight E5 and then knight H2. Very beautiful move.
Yeah.
Using the concept of superfluous square. And bishop B7 is the key move, which you go F4, knight C6, F5.
I gotta stop you, Elshan. You said the concept of what?
Superfluous square.
Superfluous. Okay. Okay.
Superfluous square. Yep.
Yep, introduced by Dvoretsky in his book, I would say seminal book on prophylactic and positional understanding, positional chess. The first one that he wrote, he co-authored with Yusupov.
Yusupov, great player.
Yep. So knight H2, and I don't need to touch this knight. I'm going to touch it. I'm going to kick it with the pawn on F2.
Right. Yeah.
Knight C6, and a beautiful move, bishop C6. Good decision, right?
Yeah.
Get rid of the bad bishop, the only piece that doesn't take part in the attack. Remove the pressure on these squares, and then bishop H6.
Yeah.
And now this whole structure works really great for me.
Yes.
Because he tries something here. Parham plays B4, D5. But because I have this structure, look at what happens now. C D5, E D5, E5.
E5. Yes. This is,
And now we have the
And now
beautiful
Ken is happy.
and F5 is coming.
Exactly. That's the pawn on C4. Does the job. Knight G8 to bring the pieces to the party back, and then knight F3, and then G4, and it just plays itself. You know, the way he won because of the structure actually, and then the rest is just a matter of.
It's a model game. Yeah,
it's a model game. It is a model game.
Finally, F5. Yeah.
So F5, and then Actually, it's very funny how technically became difficult in this moment, but he managed to convert.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that C4 is actually quite ambitious,
but he should have
played in that position wasn't working because he didn't. First thing is that there was no G6 being played, and the other thing was that it was not very easy for White to coordinate his pieces because there already was an open A file, and probably Black would have moved the queen away, play rook E8, traded a lot of pieces. Mm-hmm. So I don't see it could come together in a very quick way for White. So it was overly ambitious at the time.
Yeah, and also two things. He didn't play bishop A5, A4 takes on C6 like in the model game, and he didn't get the knight to H2 and F4 in. So
yes. The thing was that the pawn wasn't on C5 just yet. He had to go bishop D2 because when the pawn is not on C5 and you go knight H2, then they can go C6 D5.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wait for the pawn to be on C5 and then play for F4. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, great. We learned a great deal about the C4
Yeah.
variation, and we
Thank you.
know now in most cases why white should not play it. Obviously, Ken, would you like to show us one of the games?
Yes, so I have one of the women's games to show.
Okay, great.
The game by Ramesh Babu Vaishali. So let's see. So I have against Bibisara Asabayeva. So I'm just sharing the tab. So this is a game that illustrates playing for dynamics in the middle game and then going to the end game and converting an end game where we'll see that white did have some counterplay even after losing material. Okay, so a ready Reti English type tabia, where there's also a fact of at what point does white become black? When did white lose the initiative in this position? Because black is now playing ambitiously for control of the center in a Maratsi bind
Playing as white, yes.
Formation with colors reversed. But because white is able to strike back in a way that black usually doesn't. So first get that, and then F4.
Yeah,
And I know this is black usually loves getting this in.
absolutely.
In Maratsi type positions.
Absolutely.
So now the bind has been broken, and the computer does like white a little better here. You could criticize black's F6 move, but Vaishali just keeps on playing actively, and this is a case where E4, even though it looks like it's coming into the center, it actually is creating the kind of weak square complex that we've been talking about. Now, the essence here is that white is going to lose control of this position, and
instead of E4, should have white try bishop takes to C6, at least have black inferior pawn structure.
right now your dark squares are light squares. I'm sorry, light squares for white are very, very airy now. So I would worry about that.
True, that's true.
So,
but I have to say, I'm sorry for the lack of a better word. I really detest E4. It feels wrong. It feels so wrong.
mhm.
E4, yeah. Make the pawn on D3
Yeah.
weak.
Yeah, I agree.
You just close your own bishop. It
Yeah,
feels like
that's-
you're asking for a positional disaster.
It's insulting.
Yeah, so it's hard to see how to improve white's position now. We can consult the engine. The engine wants white to play queen A4 and then take on C7. I have to say that's not very inspiring for me.
No,
Uh,
I agree. I wouldn't.
How
I wouldn't go for
about
that.
just simple rook C1? Just take
Yeah.
all the pieces to the game. Can we play rook C1?
Does it hang anything? Let's see. The engine doesn't like it, but let's see.
For what reason? I want to see, because sometimes this engine is just too.
Yeah, the engine the engine just says that black is going to develop and be better developed than white is. With black controls the center files, white does not. White's pawns are not advanced here, and there isn't a nice way they can advance. So
Black is just better, in my opinion.
yeah,
They've got a better hold on the center.
I think she shouldn't have played the move D3 knight D2 is quite slow. I think she should have played just B4 in the opening.
yeah.
Just very early on in the game, she should have gone B4.
Yeah, so it's interesting how planning affects this. Anyway, so Bibisara Asayev went ahead with E4 and Queen E2. This is a very natural plan, I have to say, but you're going to get attacked, and you're going to get attacked.
Yeah. I want to double down on what Elshin just said, though, because when you're playing, and I played both sides of this, B4 is thematic. You want the action to be on the queen side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like this whole. When you do it from black side, you try to grab space to equalize. But when you're on white side, you have to use extra tempo. And it appears that white actually became, as Ken put, black, so pretty much didn't use the extra tempo. So he just ends up with less space. She just ends up with less space.
Yeah. So white panicked here.
And 3 pawn islands to 2.
Yep.
There's a lot of structural weaknesses here.
So white maybe panicked at what was coming because white gave up this very good bishop. And then thought, okay, at least I'm going to stick a piece on D5.
Oh, I see. That's the reason, I guess, is Well, no, that doesn't make sense. I don't know why they played bishop to c7. I don't
I
know.
love that bishop d6. She's immediately putting it on e5 to go for dark squares.
Yeah.
Mhm. So white played king h1. That is
Get off the dark square.
Now we have our dark squares. Okay, stick with this on d5. I really don't care. So now the essence is, once again, black has a pawn break and white does not. And
you've got that d5 knight, but I have
don't
a d4 knight.
Yeah.
So that's the best you got. I got that and more.
Mm-hmm. So now this is interesting. Black and this is a very fine move that black plays, just keeping control. White cannot support that rook on a7, so the rook comes back, and now black positions the queen. And ordinarily, you'd be a little afraid of positioning the queen opposite white's bishop, but we're going to see the point of this move.
Yeah, e4 is in the way. So.
And then bishop then bishop d4 knight d5 coming. Wow, what a performance! What a beautiful performance by black.
Yes, this is now we divert white, and now this is also very interesting. Okay, now there's a tactical point here. So this is very challenging by black. So tactical point number one is if white just trades the queen. Okay, then you judge this ending. Black is very much the better of this ending because this pawn is weak.
Mm-hmm.
And also because black's king will be able to come to the center more easily, and black has the two bishops.
All the space, for all the reasons you said, it's a clear ending superior.
But now, here's the point. Vaishali deliberately allowed a tactical motif that at first seems very strong for white. Allowed this with check. Okay. So, and the computer, by the way, does say it's strong. The computer thinks that white is clawed back to almost equality. But maybe this is a case where black sees a little deeper. Now, white has won a pawn, and white has won a second pawn. But the problem in this position is that this knight is attacked and this pawn is attacked. And when white's b pawn goes, black's b pawn is going to be the dominant factor in the position. And white's bishop and king in particular are not equipped to block the b pawn at all. Okay, so
very good point, Ken.
White is still a pawn ahead, and white is able to trade off into a bishop's opposite colors ending, but it's kind of meaningless because white's bishop is not taking part in the game. And it turns out this was actually probably the decisive mistake. The most natural move is the decisive mistake, and the computer says, I got to route my bishop to b1 as soon as possible. d1.
You would think that would occur to me, is that I got to get the bishop over there.
But I would worry. Black's king is going to be in the center. White's king will not. So something bad is probably going to happen. On the other hand, white is the pawn ahead. Well, anyways, this move...
King G1 is a blunder just because you are giving up your best piece. And then it's a good knight, bad bishop endgame.
Right. And you're also miscounted the moves. Now black is going to be able to make a queen. So now black just retreats the bishop, and here comes the pawn, and we're going to have to give up a piece to stop this pawn. White's king can't come over in time because it has to guard the knight on e3. And that's why black went to a light square, because a dark square would have been open to a check by the knight and give time to reorganize. So king f7, very fine move here. If you go to any of the four dark squares, white's knight will gain a tempo with a check.
Good point. Yep.
So now white cannot play king d2 because then just b2 or take the knight first, actually, and then b2.
Right.
And the pawn makes a queen. Okay, so now white tries to guard the pawn with the knight, but now has to concede a knight. And now we reach a technical phase where white has two pawns for the piece. And this is well worth studying. So white is trying to make a fortress. So white is trying to say, I just occupy the center, and I'm just going to defend everything you attack. And the way black maneuvers, maybe there's a more optimum way black could have maneuvered here, is very instructive, because we'll see what happens to white. It seems like some of these moves are aimless, okay, and maybe they are. But watch what black eventually creates. Okay, so the knight goes here, bishop goes there. Okay, and now white is not going to be able to defend both d3 and e4 anymore. So black's knight comes here, and now Black just marks time for a move, and now here's the key coming up. Okay, so the key is that Black's knight now reroutes itself to go this way, and with check, now
Now the E pawn falls. Oh,
now the e pawn falls, and there was actually in this position. There's no
Right.
way for White to
hold it.
hold it because White's king has to guard d3. The bishop isn't guarding it. Bishop can't go to b1 because of the fork, so it went to c4 to keep White's king from being knocked away. But then the e pawn falls, and then once this fell, now the endgame's very easy to convert, and Vaishali won. So technical interest in this game as well.
We don't know what the time controls were and whether there was some excessive maneuvering just for time.
It could have been two. Yeah, it was the FIDE standard time control.
Yeah.
So they
It's three time control. It's really old school.
Really?
for the men's side, it's the 3 time control. Yeah, for the women's, it's the FIDE standard. The interesting difference.
Really?
Yes, that's
I
playing
mean,
into
look at
my.
but this is wrong. I'm not here. I'm trying to start any debate here, but that's just plain wrong.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, baby. But yeah, it creates a difference in how I set things up. That's for sure. So,
Right, but makes absolutely no sense. And Vaishali played a really good game. I don't care what her rating is, but Black's performance, despite the blunder she made with Queen A7, was meticulous. It was detailed. It was really good. And I will use this game in my content for teaching, because the way she outplayed after E4 and shows the value of the dark squares. I mean, reminded me simply of a Smyslov.
Yeah, it was a very instructive game. The use exploitation of the dark squares was instructive. I agree.
mhm.
Yeah, so
Okay, before we end, predictions: first and second place in this tournament.
Oh,
Jim,
well, I go
Okay.
with Caruana.
Caruana.
Sean.
it can be anyone's tournament. You're asking me
Yeah,
to
yeah.
play a rule. You're welcome to the ones who are top 20 right now. You can have it. You can do a random generated number, get one, and I will put my money on that equally as the other ones. So,
I-
The last
that's
round,
true.
as usually, the last round will
Mhm.
decide everything.
Yeah.
yes.
So
That's
I,
what makes these types of tournaments so fascinating, though.
mhm.
You know, the runaway winners are, you know, that you lose interest in the tournament. But
Yeah.
Would you agree, also, that the quality of the games, I think Caruana demonstrates very, very good games. His result is pretty impressive too. Quality is also quite impressive.
Yeah, he's playing the best chess, but in the Swiss, the best chess doesn't win.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
In the Swiss, the best chess doesn't win. No.
Mhm.
But
but
he's
round
already
robin.
qualified,
the only way
he's
to go.
already qualified to candidates, right? So
Yeah, he's just playing his best chess. So
yeah.
I just hope that we could see another American. Maybe we could see Hikaru maybe qualify, so that would be nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the more the better. So the tournament is coming to North America. It's going to be in Toronto. So the
Yeah.
more we see the presence, the North American presence, it's nicer, and it will
Yeah.
make chess thrive in North
I'm
America.
monitoring the tournament, so I'm not supposed to root. But I would like to show the best move in the tournament so far.
Okay,
Mhm.
please.
Oh,
This is
I would love
sure.
to see-
Game
I would
from
love to
round
see
3, short combination. Looks like White has center counterplay and is forking the rook and knight and will win the piece that White sacrificed
Sure.
on h6 from the previous move.
First
I
glance,
should really
I
go
agree.
back to here and say this is combination to win a piece, but it meets with a shocking counter combination.
Wow.
And the point of this move is that if White captures and then Black captures and White plays here, there's
Those
an
doubles.
even more brilliant move by Black. E5,
Mhm.
releasing the Kraken, and now White is going to be checkmated on F1. There
Wow.
are not enough checks.
I did not see that. When you
Wow.
put it on, I was only looking at the double attack.
Mhm.
Did not consider Queen A1. And even when you played Queen A1, I didn't see E E5.
Yeah.
But what about Queen H4? If E5 Queen H4.
Let's see. So let's see. Oops. I'm sorry. I'm going through the game here. Okay. So E5.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. Okay. Sorry. I've done something wrong here. Okay. So
Yes.
I'm going to take this. Black takes bishop f1, e5, and then queen h4. I think the point is that black is just going to gang up and well, you're going to rook and knight and bishop for the queen, I think, right?
Maybe bishop. Oh, yeah, rook c1.
The rook c1. I think black just gangs up.
And then king g2.
King g2, just take it. So
I take the knight.
actually, there's a very nice motif here. Now this is more trouble for white's king.
f3.
Yeah, F3.
The f3. Let's see. All right, f3. Not threatening to take the bishop. I'm cheating with the engine here. Yes, you can play this. And
Okay, now
play
now we're
d4.
good. Now we're good. Yeah, now we're yeah.
Yes, I'll play d4 and then rook f1 check. Yeah, it's mate. So
Well,
yeah, and white's rook on b2 unfortunately can't give a check to black's king, so it's on the worst square on the board. So yeah, great. Actually, I didn't
Lovely
even notice.
tactic.
yes, really
Interesting.
spectacular.
Some more content for my students.
Uh, you keep coming back, Elshan. You get lots of good material.
Okay, yeah. There were a lot of other great games too.
I'm doing that 24/7.
Yeah, I know you do.
Ken, one more game, if you will do it quickly.
Oh, one more game for me? Sure. There is
Yeah.
one more game I want to show, and it's from the men's
Just
section.
quickly.
Yep. Okay. So let me do that. It's the game that was the decisive game from last round by Vidit over Sindarov. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So this also was a masterful way to play. So let me share my screen again. Masterful way to play with a material imbalance in the ending, and I think actually study will reveal that that black's play is actually incredibly accurate. Again, in a maneuvering phase. So now we're showing another win by black. Had a nice win by white to show someone else, but here.
Yeah.
And this is, again, we are exploring the Gioco piano, all of these themes. So should black take on e3 or not?
Right.
Okay, so here we go. White is playing with troubled pawns, which enables black to react in the center. Now e3 is the first weakness on either side that is being probed. And now we have, it's the e4 move again. The black comes in and attacks. Now,
Whoa.
another theme that I was going to mention here is how to rebuff an attacker. But let's see, I think maybe that does not apply to this game so much. I'm trying to remember.
We're saying that black is more than okay.
Yeah, black is certainly okay, and the engine agrees. Now, but then there's, so white's bishop on b3 has to move, and now black, it's time to defend e5.
Right.
And now, so now white thinks that white can break through with an attack momentarily. Okay, so king g2, black takes a pawn. No, so that's right. So white is it has attack, and now white thinks that this is going to be student body forward in the center and king side. But okay, so this is the move that was miscalculated.
But it seems like very natural that you're I can see why white played this way.
Yeah, you're hoping to win an exchange if white's bishop, but here comes the way to rebuff the attack. Now, there's a very nifty little fact that's going to come up in a moment here. Okay, so the point of this check is that if black takes with the bishop, you're no longer on e4. And if black takes with the king, then you take the bishop with check. So it's a really pretty move where black has to duck with the king. Okay, but this is fine now.
Okay.
So now here, you can't take the knight because you lose your queen, and black is ready to fork the queen, so there's no time to take that knight or do anything on g6. So white moves the queen to get out of check, and now black is able to simplify to an endgame. Now, this is a material advantage for black even after white recaptures the lost pawn. But bishop and knight being better than a rook.
Always take the pieces.
Yep. That's right. Now black is up a pawn, but white has a certain amount of counterplay here. And in particular, you might think it's natural to go king d6, but then rook g5, e7 can't be defended.
Yep.
And black's pieces are not coordinated. So after a little bit of repetition in the move, black has to go back. And now white is just trying to hold the game and organize some counterplay. But now with white having played g5, now black's king can emerge,
Right.
and the rook g5 option is not there.
Right.
So white did, so finally black played rook d6. There's probably some time pressure gathering of moves. Okay, now we finally maneuvered the king to the place where there are no more rook checks. And
Ouch.
yeah, now white does get, I said, get a little bit of counterplay, but black calculates that the b pawn. So if white plays rook takes
Yeah, this would be-
g7, the rook does not return in enough time.
This is what gives me heartburn in chess. You calculating these.
Yep. And black's knight was guarding the g pawn because of this check I meant to say before, and now black's knight is guarding the b pawn because of that check.
Yeah.
And so white tried a last desperate push, but now black's knight is able to guard that square. And now
Good night,
Sinner
Irene.
resigned because all counterplay lost, and black just converts with one of the passed pawns. Okay. All right, folks. I actually
Great
have
to see.
an event at 1:00.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're dismissed.
Thank you so much for showing
Thank you.
the
Yeah,
games.
okay.
And
Great to see you again, Alshon.
talking
Okay.
about merits on C4.
Yeah.
We
Thank
have
you,
now
Satya.
completely
Okay.
understand this. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
With that, I would like to thank you so much for contributing to
Sure
today's
thing. Yeah. Mhm.
program. We'll see you same place, same time next week.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye-bye.